So today, I've got a sauna hat, and don't worry, I'm not going to be wearing it for the whole video, but I bought the sauna hat to basically make my time in the sauna a little less painful. Put that back over it. But it's a kind of a metaphor for figuring out what's important when you do something and what isn't. So, the whole point of a sauna hat, I mean obviously you get in a sauna to be hot, but when you're sitting in a sauna, your head's higher up than the rest of your body, and obviously heat rises, so the top of the sauna, especially if you're sitting on like one of the benches, which I do, the top of the sauna is significantly hotter than the bottom. But the whole reason that you're in there is to warm up like your whole body, not just your head. And so the thing is, basically, when you're someone like me who doesn't have much in the way of hair, then your head gets very hot, and so it gets like much more uncomfortable than it needs to be, like much sooner. So when I'm like staying in for 20 minutes anyway, like there are days when it's, you know, it's kind of stressful. So I just thought, right, I'll get a sauna hat, because I knew they existed. And the whole point is to keep your head a little bit cooler. Now obviously you might think, that seems a bit weird, why is it cooler? When you've got a hat on, surely it's hotter. But obviously that's not the case, because the whole reason that's not the case is because your body is at like 37 degrees, whereas outside it's like at 70 degrees or something like that. And so, you know, the differential, the hat basically keeps you cooler, you know, in the same way that like people who live in the desert don't go around in shorts and t-shirts because it's really hot outside. They wear, you know, clothes to basically keep them cool. But anyway, so what's all this got to do with anything? So, like I was saying, the point is you have to realise why. What's the point of the sauna? So the point of the sauna is to cause like heat stress in your body, and that sort of like gets your body fit for certain things. And you know, there's a bunch of like responses, but you know, the point is you're trying to get your whole body hot. So although like being in the sauna can be uncomfortable, there's different ways that it's uncomfortable. And like basically where you've got like, you know, when your head gets very hot before your body does, then you're just suffering needlessly. Hence the hat. Now coincidentally, so I've been going to the sauna for like 3 years or something, and I go almost every day. And I very, very rarely, you know, hardly ever see anyone new. You know, and so today was the first day with the sauna hat. And so obviously I had to just be in the sauna with 3 people that I'd never seen before, who all thought I was some kind of lunatic for wearing a hat in the sauna. No one said anything, but I could tell. And I think one of the guys that was in there, it was his first time ever in a sauna. So I was sitting like, you know, on the top bit where like you've got your feet, and he was sitting down there, because, you know, it's what you want to do the first time you get in the sauna, because you don't know how you're going to react. But anyway, he was like huffing and puffing quite, you know, after not very long in there. And that's how the sauna makes you feel. You get out of breath when you're not used to it. And you know, it's because your body's trying to cool you down. and it's, it's pumping the blood, and that's, to be able to pump the blood, you have to like start, your heart rate goes up, you need to breathe more, and so it feels kind of, you feel out of breath, and you feel like you can't breathe. So I sort of, I understood what he was going through, but he was actually the worst. He gave me the funniest look when he walked in and saw me sitting there with this woolly hat on. Well, it's not woolly hat, it's felt, but anyway. But I was thinking, yeah, I know what you're going through, mate. So, see, the thing is, when we do things, in general, we're doing them for a reason, but we often get mixed up between like the reason, the outcome, and the way we feel, and all stuff together. So although like being in the sauna, the whole point is to be hot, obviously the point is to get hot. The being hot, like it's not better for you the more uncomfortable it is. So for instance, when you first start going to the sauna, it's terribly uncomfortable, it's horrible, it's really just not pleasant at all. But eventually, it gets better. But that doesn't mean that the first time that you go to sauna, it's better for you, because it's just like more painful. And that's like a lot of things that we do in life. I don't know if it's just that we're sort of, the Christian like ethos is kind of everywhere. So, I was raised a Catholic, so it was a common thing like for, if anything felt bad, then, well, more, if anything felt good, then it was probably like bad for you, and you shouldn't do that. If you, anything that was nice was kind of bad. It just generally is like in Catholic things. And so that kind of like translates to, like a kind of, people who, internet personalities who are all about like, if it feels bad, then good. That's kind of like Jocko Willick's thing, which I'm obviously not knocking Jocko Willick. I think he's done a lot of good stuff to like empower people, but there's a bit of that, like, if it's terrible, if it feels bad, then good. You should say good to yourself, and kind of understand where that's coming from. But at the same time, not everything, just because some, there are bad ways to do stuff. I mean, if someone who would benefit from, say, doing some press-ups decides to just do those press-ups on the knuckles, then that's going to hurt more. And like, the whole reason for them doing the press-ups isn't like to toughen up the knuckles. It's to, do press-ups, work out the body and stuff like that. So just because something feels worse, certainly doesn't mean that it's better. And that's kind of like, I think that's one of the ways that we should like approach health. There are lots of things that we can, in general, what puts people off getting healthy is because they just think it's going to be so painful. And, in a certain way, I suppose it depends what your attitude to discomfort is. Because if you're not even prepared to say, go hungry occasionally, and I'm not saying like starving to death, but there's a sensation that you need to get used to. The sensation of hunger isn't like, it's not pain, you know what I mean? I mean, it certainly could be if like you're starving to death. I'm not saying that that's not pain, but if you're just not snacking between meals, then you are going to get hungry. You will feel a sensation in your belly that is hunger. but that's fine. That's just something that you need to learn to deal with. I mean, the equivalent of like the sauna hat for that might be like chewing gum or something, I don't know. But I think that you just need to get used to it. But there's lots of things, you know, it's like you don't need to slave away at stuff, you know, you don't need to. People have this idea of, you know, if I'm going to be fit then I have to go out running every day or something. And although your body probably wouldn't mind if you did go run, you know, you do, you can, I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's kind of, you know, I'm getting on like nearly 50 now, and I don't think that my knees would be very happy with me if I was running an hour a day. But for instance, I do walk over an hour a day, and that suits me fine, you know. So you know, I walk an hour, I go to the sauna, I do like bands and stuff, and you know, I feel good. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't rather be, you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning when I'm going out for my walk. There are plenty of days when I'm like kind of, but you know, I take something to listen to, so I like to listen to podcasts and stuff. And so I actually feel like at the end of the walk, I've usually learned something, or you know, I've done something that's kind of interesting. So although like I'm not always looking forward to it, I don't dread it, and I do feel good after I've been for my walk and listened to some podcasts and, you know, listen to some interesting things. So, you know, it's just your experience of stuff is determined by your attitude, you know, how you approach it. And the point is, you don't get extra brownie points for suffering. You know, so although I'm a big believer in, you know, doing things anyway, you know, so you need to, there's a balance that you need to strike between like being able to cope with things that are unpleasant and thinking that the unpleasantness is the bit that's doing you good, because it isn't, you know. And although it's early days for me with the sauna hat, when I was wearing it today, I'm like I said, you know, I saw 3 people that I've never seen in the sauna before, and they were looking at me like, what's this crazy person doing with his hat on? I did actually think that, you know, I wish I'd have done this sooner, because like I did get, you know, I was nearly up to like the 20-minute mark when I thought, oh, I wonder how long I've been in here, because I didn't really feel like, you know, I wasn't like kind of, oh, can't wait to get out of here, which I normally am. I mean, not every day, but a lot of days. And it just made me think, you know, what else is there? You know, what else could I do? Or, you know, there are so many things that we could probably do that we don't do, because we just think, oh, it's just going to be too painful. I can't face it. And, you know, maybe there are like little tricks and stuff, you know, that we can do to just make things just a little bit easier, because sometimes that's all you need, you know. You just, if things are just slightly easier, then you're more likely to do them. I mean, as you'll have noticed, I do, for instance, I don't mind eating pretty much the same thing every day. It's not exactly the same, but you know, it's largely the same. And you know, I don't mind doing that. That's my that's kind of the way in that I have to, eating healthy, and if I had to, try and be imaginative to, think up all kinds of different things to eat every single day, I'd just go nuts. I just couldn't face it. But that doesn't mean that there aren't things out there where, you can help you. I mean, things like ChatGPT, it's just amazing for, saying, give me a recipe with, such and such thing. In fact, once I even actually just took a picture of like the contents of the fridge and said, come up with a recipe for me, for something that won't take long for me to cook now. And I just said, well, this is what I've seen. It's, I've seen, it just went through the things like the contents of the fridge. And like I thought, what a cool thing. I'm still not going to eat it, but it was kind of there really isn't any good excuse to not cook. You can even just ask, AI, what can I eat, and it'll tell you. You can just do it. But the main barrier towards actually doing stuff, it's just there. It's not the main barrier, it's pretty much the only barrier. It's not like there's no real excuse not to take your life into into your own hands and like make some decent changes. You really, if you're an adult, why can't you do that? And that's kind of what I'm trying to, with the 30-day Dad Bod Buster Challenge eBook that I did. I was trying to like basically provoke people into, just giving it a go, because there's maybe you'll find that it's not as difficult as you were worried about. A lot of times, I'd say almost all the time, things are always worse, like when you're thinking about them than when you're actually doing them. It's like, anyone who's ever done exercise knows that the worst bit is like the thinking about going to the gym rather than actually being at the gym and getting stuff done, or like, thinking about sitting on your exercise bike before you like, once you like, not that I have I have got an exercise bike, but I don't use it. But when I used to use it, it was, when I actually got to the point of like sticking it somewhere that I could actually do something while I was pedaling, then it was great. I'd just like, maybe watch a football match or something, something like that, where you could like literally just pedal away for 45 minutes if, the footy's interesting, if like Liverpool were playing, then I could just sit there and watch it and like lose myself in the match, and like before I know it, like I've been pedaling for like 45 minutes. And it's just finding ways to, it's not necessarily tricking yourself into it, but it's just taking the pain away. Or just taking just taking away the thing that'll stop you from starting doing something good. Because it's like, if you don't even get started, then you've had it. Have I put salt in? Well, that's the question. I don't know. Can't remember. I think I have most of them. I was close on. So, yeah. So like the point is, it's like everything in your life, there are easy ways and difficult ways of doing almost anything. And like that doesn't mean that trying to find the easy way to do something, it's not always laziness. why would you make something more difficult than it needs to be? Unless that's the point. So like, if you're like learning a musical instrument, then you do seek out the difficulty on purpose. And so sometimes like you'll just practice things that are just movements that you find difficult, and you do it just to like improve your technique or whatever. Or like that's what strength training's all about, isn't it? I mean, you're just literally going up to the point where it's the most difficult, and that's where you're training. No one's ever like doing like 500 reps of 1 kilo or something, are they? No, everyone's trying to do the 1 rep of 500 kilos. Well, you know what I mean. But it's an attitudinal thing, isn't it? So that's why I bought the sauna hat. I'm laughing because I'm just thinking about the guy who sat next to me, and when he walked into the sauna, and he was just like, what the hell? Especially because it was his first day. Interestingly enough, when I was still in there, his dad came looking for him, and he was like, you in there, you're okay? And by that time he'd already left, he was in the shower. But it was, I thought, typical. It just would have to be the first day when I'm not going to lie to you, I did feel like a bit of a tit wearing it, at first, until I actually started to feel like how beneficial it is. So that's going to be something I'm just going to wear every day now. I think I don't see why I wouldn't. It'll also be a bit of a conversation starter, I guess. Because the normal guys that I normally like bump into are bound to ask me about it, so that'll be amusing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So the idea is, well, like I was saying in the ebook that I wrote, which you can download in the link below this. The point is, you start off easy to like sort of get used to. The idea is that you just want to basically start to feel better, because once you start feeling better about the way you eat and everything, you get into like a positive like feedback loop, and so it just becomes easier to do things. So when I was 20 kilos heavier than I am now, the thought, like just not eating when I was hungry was really difficult, because it's when you're used to not eating properly, you've got this kind of like feedback mechanism in your body where you like hunger feels different. In fact, you don't really feel hungry, you feel kind of sick. You feel like kind of sick. And I noticed that even now, like when on Saturdays when I'll just eat whatever I feel like, the next day I don't feel hungry in the same way. I feel like kind of hungry sick. And it's like because my body's like craving carbs or something, and that it just doesn't sit right. But I know this now, and so like if I just eat properly for one day. In fact, I used to fast, but I've stopped doing it for the last couple of weeks because I don't feel like I'm really getting. It's like it's more pain than it's worth, because it'd be easy for me to fast at some day that wasn't the day after I'd just like been binging so, because then I've got like my body not feeling good because of the crap food I've eaten, plus my body like not getting any nutrients, which just makes it, compounds it. And so although it might be the best kind of quick way to, I've said this before, that fasting is a great way to like reset my mind, and that's why I was doing it, but I'm never tempted like after a day of binging to like carry on binging. You know, it's like the next day even by the end of like Saturday night, I don't really. You know, quite often I don't even eat an evening meal because I've just, you know, maybe I've been eating pizza or something, and I'm just like, oh, you know, that was my lunch, and I just don't feel like anything else. Because I'm also not actually that used to eating bad food. You know, you have to train for everything, and you know, I'm just not very bad food fit at the moment, which is good because I don't want to be. But like I was saying about the virtuous circle, so you know, just doing things and you know, actually appreciating hunger. I mean, I am hungry right now. That's why I'm cooking my lunch. You know, I'm not just like one of these people who are like, I don't really like food. I do like food. I like food a lot. But I also like to eat when I'm hungry rather than like, I mean, snacking is just a habit that you get out of. You don't need to snack. You know, you just don't. All this like 5 meals a day nonsense is just, it's not even, I just can't, I just don't believe that it's even natural. I just can't see why, you know, how a hunter-gatherer society or even like, you know, anyone who just does any like kind of physical work, it's not like you're stopping every couple of hours to have a little nibble or something, is it? You know, it doesn't make, it's not normal. You know, animals aren't, you know, apart from grazing animals, but the reason that they're grazing animals is because the stuff that they're eating doesn't have a lot of calories in it. You know, a cow has to eat a lot of grass. Just that's why it's got 4 stomachs. You know, it should kind of, you know, put things in context. We've only got 1 stomach. We don't need to be eating all day. We shouldn't be grazing on food. And it'll just make you feel better. I don't know, I can't really wait any longer because I'm just too hungry. I probably should have started this video earlier, but I had stuff to do. So anyway, let me see. I think it's done enough. It'll do. It's fine. Right, so that was me and my tale of my sauna hat. I'm not planning on buying any other sauna accessories. There was actually a cool one that was like looked like a Viking helmet, which I must admit I was very tempted to buy, but I think I just look too stupid with the Viking hat. You know, maybe I don't think that Spain's ready for me in the Viking hat just yet. Anyway, well, the fish is done anyway. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.